Mic check. 1, 2. Mic check. Mic check. George Popa, I don't care about how old you are. We got a show to do. Yeah, I'm gonna jump on here in just a minute. I'm gonna a few things set up on the back end here. I kind of played around with some things. I may or may not have added some sound effects that are going to be coming up today, and I'm kind of excited about that. Shout out to Kenny for the inspiration. What up, Kenny? I see you, big dog. Song number 1 down. All right, let's get this. Let's get this on transitioned in. There's some new controls over here on YouTube too. I'm trying to figure out where I can add markers and stuff so that way I can kind of document the different things that are talked about. Hey. All right, excellent. Kind of figuring this out. What's up, everybody? Welcome aboard. Man, that image looks a little blown out. Let me see if I can adjust, make a fine. Wow, now I look orange. Maybe we'll go right there. We'll see how that does. Of course, Kenny was. Of course he was. Where is he now? Yeah, found a new playlist here. Says, oh boy, OBOY. I pull all of these from Soundstripe. That's where I get all these tunes. I was thinking about, and this is one thing I'm kind of playing around with the software here. What I may be able to do is actually give the music control to the viewers. I've still got to figure that out, but I may be able to do that. So if you're interested in taking control of the music, let me know, and I will continue to work on that. I'm getting an error over here on YouTube, but you know what? I'm not even going to sweat it. Yeah, Aldo, that's what I need. I need a club DJ. I know. I know that's you. He could come on and just be a full-fledged, full-time DJ on the show. The Black DJ. Hey, Kenny, boy, oh boy, do I have one for you today. I've got one specifically for you. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and tease it right now.
Humic Hotline.
How about that, Kenny? I did that just for you.
Humic Hotline.
And since Lon Burgundy made that, I went ahead and credited on that. I know we were talking about that, Kenny, but anyway, I thought that was I realized that came from him. I thought that was pretty good. I thought I'd go ahead and throw that in. I've got a couple more that I've got to add over here on the back end that I didn't finish. But I went ahead and brought back some of my old sound effects too. I got my dove horn back. I may have added a squirrel count. That's for you, Jason, and all though. And this is another one.
Scam alert! Scam alert! Scam alert! Scam alert!
I think all of those would be a good fit for everything we talk about. You're exactly right, Brad. This is all support. Yeah, basically, you name any kind of piece of support out there. This is what we're going to be covering today. Especially because of everything my Tennessee Vols are giving me right now. It's just absolutely brutal. Squirrel count.
Squirrel count.
All right. I'm having fun over here with the back end stuff, but let's go ahead and get this underway. For those of you that are tuning in the first time, welcome aboard. This is the Lawn Care Help Desk. This is my Sunday show where I like to come on and have a little open format, meaning you ask questions. I will do my best to provide answers. A couple things I want to clear out of the way. Number one is I am human. I am fallible, and therefore I make mistakes. Just understand that full-fledged, I am going to make a mistake. I'm going to be thinking about cool season grass when in actuality I'm talking about warm season grass, and I'll make a recommendation for cool season grass that would be detrimental to warm season grass. So always fact check everything I say. As a good general rule of thumb for life in general, fact check would be a great place to start. But even with me, because again, understand, I'm human. I make mistakes. Let's see. What else? I've always got a series of just kind of disclaimers that I throw out here and not recalling them at all right now. What's up, Jordan Farmer? How are you doing over there, sir? So, yeah, and so the way I typically structure this is open format, meaning you ask questions. I will do my best to provide answers. Understand, I start at the top of the chat and then work my way down to the bottom. So if I miss you, I promise it's not necessarily intentional. Number one, I'm on about a 20-second delay from where you are. So therefore, when I'm speaking, you have to understand that I'm responding to something that I saw 20 seconds previously. Is that? Yeah, that's right. That's right. And then also I start at the top and then work my way to the bottom. So that's another thing that ends up happening is that, you gotta start at the top, work your way to the bottom. It may take me 10 minutes to finish one before I go to the next one. The other thing is that sometimes I will lose my place. And when I lose my place, it gets a little difficult. Someone said you should get Beetlejuice from Howard Stern on my show. Yeah, I probably should. I'm not, but I probably should. The one of the things I need to get back into having more consistent shows, but I'm still traveling like crazy right now. I'm in and out of town. Like for instance, this week I'm going to be out of town Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So. And then last week I was out of town Monday, Tuesday. I was expecting to hang out Wednesday night, but I ended up, no, wait. How did that work? So I was out of town Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday was Thanksgiving, right? So I was in on Thanksgiving. And my wife and I were like, hey, we'll get out there and we'll hang out. And then all of a sudden, I got a phone call that Friday had to be out of town, so I had to leave town again on Friday. Trying to get some work separation, all kinds of stuff going on back over there. I'm kind of excited about all that. Kind of excited about all that. Hell yeah! Thank you, Shay, for lawn care. Thank you. All right, so let's get, it's kind of a. I'm not going to talk about it. You can check over in the chat if you want to see some stuff over there. So, like I said, this is the show where hey, listen, anything you want to talk about, we can talk about here. I've got no one who's controlling the content that's coming out. I got nothing. We can pretty much dive into whatever it is you want to dive into, as long as I'm fully capable of diving into it. I will warn you, there's lots of topics out there. About 99.999% of things that are available to talk about, I don't know the answer to. So just keep that in mind, how that works. For those of you that are playing along at home too, a couple other things that are not necessarily new, but other things I do. I've got this is also being streamed to Twitch and Facebook as well. Now you can go to facebook.com/Grass Factory. You're going to see it streamed there as well, depending on which platform you like. As my software allows more flexibility there, I will probably continue to increase the number of places where I stream. Yes, Pick the Doc's Brain will be coming back sooner than later. In fact, we might be able to do it tomorrow. As for right now, I am scheduled to be in town tomorrow, so that is a very real possibility. In fact, I will reach out to Green Doc and see what his schedule looks like and see what we'll be able to do. I don't know, David. I don't know. It depends on work right now, because my schedule has fully flipped upside down compared to what it used to be. It's my schedule's no longer the same, so things aren't necessarily the same as they used to be. Therefore, changes have to occur. But that being said, now I should be having a little bit more predictability in what I'm doing day in and day out, and therefore, one of the things I do plan on doing is at least bringing back Pick the Doc's Brain. I gotta do that, because there's so many topics that we uncovered there that were really good. And it was very controversial, and I got to say, I'm not one to shy away from controversy. It doesn't bother me at all. In fact, I got a good idea here, because this is. Let me see if I can bring this in here. There are some weird things going on in the background that I just. This is, oh boy, I remember this song. That I don't really understand what was happening. Let me see if I can bring this up. Where did I say that? This is legit funny. I've got to say. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Where is it? Let me do this. Yes. Here it is. Let me bring this up. No lie. Somebody sent this out to a couple people in the stream. It should be displaying here in a second. I forget. I'm on a delay, so I'm looking at it. And listen. These are the types of things that absolutely motivate me in what I do. I absolutely love this. I don't know who this is, but somebody continues to be operating under the mindset that I must be under the influence while I'm doing these streams. And I'm not. If I was, I would have zero qualms whatsoever about talking about it. You know what I mean? It does not bother me. So, but I think this is just funny that for whatever reason. So anyway, with this going on, and this is a lot of what having Ray on was we kind of explored the controversial topics that people may not necessarily enjoy talking about, and that's totally fine. And I'm perfectly okay with that. And so, without a doubt, one thing I do plan on doing is at least having Ray on frequently for us to be able to describe that. And I can't wait to start being able to do these during the week again too. That's the big thing for me. It's just it may not be as regular or as predictable as it was previously because my schedule has certainly changed. What is this? What is this? It's probably Brad's. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. I believe the first question I saw come in here was from Stout Lawn Care. What's up, Chris Stout? How are you doing, good sir? He said, I want to add fungicides to my program next year. Think late spring and midsummer. What's your thoughts on products and timing? Cool season. So, as a general rule of thumb, the way when I'm working on the addition of fungicides to programs, you have to apply some sort of predictability model. And at least the one that tends to work best for me where I am, and I know you're not too different in terms of the environment where you are, Chris, a little bit cooler, but still I notice Pennsylvania kind of tracks similar to where we are in Knoxville, but it's like, maybe a week or two late kind of deal, so it's close, it's just a little bit slowed. Now, that being said, as far as what you plan on adding, there's one of my favorite resources that's out there right now is you can go to the old Google Sphere and type in NC State and then brown patch. And you will see one of their turf files that they have. And these turf files are excellent for when it comes to putting together fungicide programs for specific diseases. And what you'll see here is an efficacy rating system based on the active ingredient or even the trade name. So, for instance, you're looking at your Heritage or azoxystrobin, you'll see you have very high efficacy. You'll see Headway, very high efficacy. Now, some of these are not going to be labeled, for instance, for residential lawn care. So that's where you'll have to do a little deep diving into figuring out what specifically is going to work for you. Like, for instance, I don't believe Union is labeled for residential lawns. Concert is not. Enclave is not. Like chlorothalonil is not going to be labeled for residential lawns. So it's something that you've got to put a little work into to get it all figured out and working in your favor. But it is a great resource. So I'll go ahead and throw this into the chat, so at least you have a resource there that you can go to, Chris Stout. And then let's see, but my particular favorite, at least in residential lawn care, for the most part, has been the combination of azoxystrobin and propiconazole. Look at my wife in here. Let's give her some dabs on it and the dove horse. So yeah, you gotta do a little tiptoeing around to get it all figured out and make it work for you. But once you do, you're gonna be much better off. And I think a good place to start that's at least going to be broad spectrum enough on the front end would be a combination of azoxystrobin and propiconazole. Now, like for me personally, I built out a spreadsheet that I call the roll your own spreadsheet, where I kind of go into the rates, and if it is something you want to put together, that would be on there and you would be able to do that. So just kind of a off the topic there, Chris, I believe you have seen that roll your own spreadsheet. That's kind of only something I have available to the pros, and so yeah, you can check into that and see the rates that are at least recommended on that. And if you don't have access to it, just shoot me a text and I'll get that sent over to you. Aldo said, look right here. Aldo said, do PGRs differ with what part of the plant it focuses to regulate? I'm looking for something to add in my program that can focus extra on seed heads. Kinda, not, no, not really. they're all basically going to work in about the same vein. In terms of Bermuda grass and seed head production, I don't think there's anything that works exceptionally well. Let me hang on one second. There may be one. There may be one. Oh wait, no, that's labeled for. Was it? Oh man, I cannot remember. I think was it Proxy that was labeled for seed heads? No. Oh yeah, here it is. Here it is. So Proxy growth regulator, Etofon, is a plant growth regulator that may be used to suppress the formation of seed heads of various plants, including poa annua and white clover, and also to suppress the growth of certain cool season grasses. But I do not believe you can use this on warm season grass. Yeah. Let's see. No, I don't see it offering all that much seed head suppression on Bermuda grass. In fact, I don't see anything about it on the label. So, unfortunately, there's not really going to be a whole lot you can do there. Make sure it's well fed and mowed appropriately, and that's going to be about as good as you can get. And it's kind of one of those weird things when you're dealing specifically with Bermuda grass seed heads, is that you can have the same batch of sod laid down, and you're going to get individual squares that do produce seeds, and then you're going to get individual squares that don't produce seeds. And it's going to be from the exact same farm. It could be from the exact same place right next to each other, and one is producing seed heads, one isn't. Why? There's some sort of additional stress or whatever's taking place to extenuate that. And trying to get to the root of that and figure out what it is and fix it is, good luck. You might be able to do it, but good luck. It's going to be difficult. It's not going to be easy. So I wish you the best on it, but I just don't think there's going to be anything that just really, really gets you excited about it, to be honest. There's also a section on the T-Nex label, and in fact, what you may want to do is reference the old Primo label. Take a look at the Primo label, and I think there is a section on there about seed head suppression. You can try and employ some of those instances that they talk about as well, but it's a little. It's something you gotta try and figure out because there's no real definitive answer on that. First frost seems to get anticipated in the transition zone. How late do you run Bermuda Zoysia with fall pre-emergence? Thoughts on NOS versus urea? So NOS, okay, hang on. Let's see here. As far as fertilizing Bermuda and Zoysia, wait, you're not talking about fertilizer. Well, I don't know. I'm kind of confused because you're talking about fertilizer and nitrogen stabilizers, and then you're also talking about fall. Oh, it is Bermuda Zoysia with fall pre-emergent. Okay, I had to read that 3 or 4 times. I apologize. That's my own brain. So, number one, when I am applying a fall fertilizer when I'm applying a fall pre-emergent on Bermuda and Zoysia, I am not applying it granularly. That's just me. Some people do it. I don't do it. And I would normally start that at the end of August or the 1st of September. Now, if you haven't put it down yet and you're freaking out because you haven't got it down yet, go ahead and put it down. If it's attached to if it's attached on top of fertilizer, that is not ideal at all. But if it's all you got, go ahead and get it down. But just understand that a lot of that is being wasted. You're literally setting fire to money at that at that point. So I would never run a fall pre-emergent on a fertilizer. Then the second piece of it is that when you're talking about urea and a nitrogen stabilizer like NOS, you have to look at what is the active ingredient of the NOS and how does that apply to your specific soil. So let's see. Let me see if I can look up which nitrogen stabilizer they are using. Here is the spec sheet. Let's see, NOS plus, NOS. Well, oh, here we go. It is DCD, dicyandamide. Okay. Dicyandamide. That's right. This is a good one. This one is effective. Your greatest efficacy would be combining that with NBPT. So NOS, nitrogen optimization system, is only half good in my opinion. I would never run just DCD. I would always throw in NBPT on top of it. So that way you're capitalizing on both denitrification as well as urease inhibition. And that would give you your true biggest effective stabilizing and protecting, enhancing the efficiency of the urea you apply. So I hope I answer your questions. There's kind of a lot to unpack. Again, I would never ever run a fall fertilizer with a pre-emergent unless I'm getting it down really early. And if it was, I would be applying something like a 5010 or a 5020, something like that. Very, very little nitrogen. And if that is the case, I surely would not be running NOS with it. If that's all you have, yes, you can say it's a 1648 or a 2005 or whatever the case may be, a 10010. If that's all you got, go ahead and use it. But normally I'm trying to get those down in September, the first round, October, the second round on warm season grasses. I'm trying to be way done with that before now. Now, for cool season grasses, if you're putting down a pre-emergent on cool season grasses, yes, that makes sense because the nitrogen makes sense. But on warm season grasses, the nitrogen does not make sense because the overwhelming majority of that is going to be lost to the atmosphere, to the environment, or mostly to the environment and runoff and all that fun stuff. And so you're really spending money on something that the plant will never ever have the opportunity to use. Therefore, in my opinion, it's just not worth it. Plus, if somebody ever holds your feet to the fire, it's kind of one of those things that, you know, you can say, well, listen, I made this decision, if somebody comes out and like, you know, hey, what do you do for the environment? And you're like, they could just point at you and be like, you are applying this and it's going to cause problems, and you don't really have a leg to stand on if you're applying nitrogen to dormant Bermuda grass or zoysia grass, whatever. So that's why we're having this conversation now. Get it fixed. Have a show where you do a shot every time someone asks about lawns going dormant. That's funny. I don't get a whole lot of that right now. Back in the day when I was treating lawns, now is about the time, or, a few weeks ago is about the time you start getting a lot of questions about the tiger striping in warm season grass. It looks like I got a tiger stripe in my backyard or whatever the case may be. But I honestly haven't had a whole lot about that recently. Good source for free turf management and research presentations, university or otherwise. Well, there's not really one that goes in and compiles all of this, especially for free. So I don't. And this is Dave. I would tell you to fire up your Google foo and go nuts with it, because that's really the only place you're going to be able to put these together. Because nobody really just compiles all this information, especially for something as broad as turfgrass management, right? There's some books out there that you can buy, some entry level stuff. Like, who is it? Dr. Oh, what is his name? I tweet turf on Twitter. Let me do my own Google. How do you typo it 4 times in a row? Dr. Kaminsky, who I believe is at Penn State. Yeah, he's at Penn State. He actually put out a book. It was like Turfgrass 101, I believe, is the name of his book. And it is a good entry-level, get your feet wet stuff. But I'll say, Dave, what I know of you, I think you'd probably be a little bit beyond that. That is literally for a college student that's walking into the classroom for the first time to ever learn anything about turf. So that may not be a good place for you. So this is really when you've got to fire up the Google flu if you want to take it to the next level. Yeah, that's really all I got. I hate to tell you that, but that's true. You know what I would recommend is going ahead and shelling out the money for something like Pace Turf. I think Pace Turf would be a good place to start. It can get a little heady. It can get real heady, as a matter of fact, but it's a good place. It's a good place. I'll spread the POA annual seeds in the lawns. Just give me the address. What is going on, Dario Morris? How are you, good sir? Glad you are here. I went into the rabbit hole, thought I read something on Primo. Yeah, you did on Primo. I can't remember exactly what it was. Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know. Matt, can you compare and contrast peptides and kelp? Can carbonifer, rest in peace, and or subvert liquids be combined with something like Cytogrow? Would that be overkill or worthwhile? So here's the thing. So the whole premise behind peptides is you are affecting things more at the genetic level. If you head over to the peptide section of the members Discord and go up, and you're going to see lots of conversations there about the genetic places that are taking places. And this is where Brandon Falk and I were kind of going back and forth, looking over different things, and you're going to see different places where it starts to affect the signaling and the root growth as a response to being exposed to these peptides. Versus when you're talking about kelp is going to be more hormonal, right? A direct hormone, where you're actually taking in cytokinins, you're actually taking in auxins, you're actually taking in gibberellins. There's no real direct genetic signaling that's taking place. If it is a physiological response to hormones. So a totally different type of thing. So would you want to combine it with something like Cytogrow? In my opinion, that would be way overkill nor worthwhile. And I'll explain why. It would be kind of like, there's if you are forcing a single or a collective group of hormones into a plant versus applying a bunch of precursors or a bunch of biostimulants to the plant to allow them to have the ability to produce their own hormones at their own ratios that they see fit to elicit performance versus physically forcing them to do something. So one would be more like adjusting your lifestyle and exercise habits to put on more muscle and to increase health. The other way would be like beginning to take anabolic steroids, right? So it's just, or maybe even in one way to look at it would be like, I was going to say HGH, but that's still a hormonal thing. So one would be more like just actually manipulating your genetics to become bigger, and the other one would be like hormonally manipulating your body to become bigger. And I think that's kind of the easiest way to look at that. Derek Atkinson's, what is going on, sir? I have a less than 100 square foot area. I want to grow blueberries, sandy loam, pH 7. What would you use and how much to bring a pH to a 4.5 to a 5.5? Peat citric. I have a year. So this is kind of difficult because you've got to move it from a 7 to a 4.5 or 7 to a 5.5. That is not easy. So there's probably a couple ways to go about this, and I'm not sure any of them are the right way, but mainly the number one thing I would be doing is for sure bringing that pH down. So you're 100% on the right track with that. So what I would do is probably a combination of things. So one of the things Ray taught me about was utilizing sulfuric acid to quickly manipulate your soil pH. So this would be one of those where you would either use just sulfuric acid, or if you're looking for something a little safer, then citric acid would be a good fit for you. That would be the fastest way to do it. And then for long-term effects, right, when you pull your soil sample, you can mark on there that you are going to be growing blueberries, and it will make a recommendation to bring your pH down for you, because I don't know how much to apply unless I know your buffer pH and knew the formula off the top of my head to make that all work mathematically, and that's beyond me. I don't know all that off the top of my head. But the lab can tell you that if you tell them you're growing blueberries. So it will tell you how much sulfur to apply to bring that down. So what I would do is, if you were going to go ahead and fallow the land, go ahead and fallow, till in the amount of sulfur that you need to till in, and go ahead and make your initial citric application to go ahead and flush those bicarbonates to basically increase the efficacy of that sulfur that you applied. Remember, the sulfur, elemental sulfur that you apply, eventually will convert to sulfuric acid. So I would do it in a two-step process. One, soil test to figure out exactly how much sulfur I need to apply, till in that amount of sulfur, and go ahead and make an application of citric acid at 1 to 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet. Is there any way to stop wild onions from coming up? Unfortunately, no. But once they are up, go ahead and making your application of a 2,4-D ester would be a great hot wallop to go ahead and throw it on cool season grass. If you have warm season grass, one of the things that people do not know is that with warm season grass, boy, you can go spray it with methylfuran methyl and do a phenomenal job on onions. But hey, dog, I know you have cool season grass, so I would use an ester-based 2,4-D, something like that, like a Escalade 2. I think that has 2,4-D in it. Or you can go to your local co-op and get some 2,4-D ester or something like that, and that would all work well for you. In the spring, when is the right time to start PGR? I renovated this fall, and I want to thicken the turf and get a healthier lawn. Lawn is Kentucky bluegrass and perennial ryegrass. So what I would do is number one, I would start. So what I would do is I would go ahead and look up the climate appraisal form. Philip, you can head over to Pace Turf and type in climate appraisal form. And what you want to look for is when your growth probability is going to reach 100%, and you want to start your applications prior to reaching that 100%. As a general rule of thumb, I don't know where you live, but that will probably be somewhere around March or April would be the way to do this. What is this, Brad Tharp for Sammy's Homeschool Wellness Fund? Thank you, Brad. Thank you, sir. So Philip DeGrazia, I would stick somewhere in that March, that April timeframe. But if you're looking for a more scientific approach to starting that, without a doubt, 100%, look up the climate appraisal form, and you want to start applying probably somewhere when you see you're going to be reaching somewhere around 75% growth probability, and for sure, without a doubt, start before you reach that 100% growth probability. Because remember, this preventative growth regulator, you're preventing growth. You want to apply it prior to the onset of your peak growth. How about them apples? Is dormant seeding a thing? Here we go. We're going to get a little squirrely here. Yes, it is a thing. Does it necessarily work? It's a mystery, right? And I use that term loosely. Chances are, more than likely, yes, it's going to work, but you don't know if it's going to work until the next spring. So what you have to make the decision on is it worth it to go ahead and spend the money on the seed now and potentially lose it, or if I don't want to risk losing the seed, just wait until spring and do it then. It's totally up to you, and only you can make that judgment call. But yes, you can. Dormancy, no, it doesn't always work well. Applying a liquid pre-emergent in September, October. Yeah, there you go. So that's normally what I do is September 1st is where I would be starting those applications, somewhere around there. Why is activated sewage sludge added to my fertilizer? Sounds like something I wouldn't want to put on my lawn. That's a great question. But it's not really that bad. Okay. And whatever activated sewage sludge means, I have no idea. I've never heard of activated sewage sludge, but I do know what plenty of sewage sludge is. And basically what they do is they digest the human waste, right? So as human waste runs through this line, they add all these bugs to it that break down all this human waste, this sewage sludge. And what's left over after all of that is decomposed, is mineralized and fed these bugs, and these bugs blossom and then grow and then they die. Those bugs, after they die, are then granulated, and that is your sewage sludge fertilizer. So it's not actually the human waste, it is all the dead microbes that digested the human waste, is basically what it is. Sounds like something you wouldn't want to put on your lawn. It's fine to put on your lawn. It's more of a lot of the information you see out there about it is more of a scare tactic more so than anything. I feel like if there's an area of it that is a big unknown, it has to do with pharmaceuticals. But remember, and don't take this to heart, but in a lot of the people I talk to, let me rephrase that. If you ever speak to a climate, an environmental consultant of the sort, one of the things you hear, and I say this loosely, so understand I'm not being literal when I say this, but I'm using it more as a conceptual idea, right? The solution to pollution is dilution, right? And basically, you're taking that concentrated form of human waste and diluting it by putting out over a larger area, a larger landmass. And because of that, you're diluting the concentration of those potential pharmaceuticals or whatever the case may be over a larger area. Therefore, they're not creating such a problem by existing in a concentrated area. Thank you, Symbion. I appreciate that. Man, we, if you want to play a certain song, go ahead. I'll get to it. I know what you meant. Where am I here? Let me see. Does undersoil heating, like what's done on athletic fields, prevent dormancy? It can, yes, if you can keep the grass blades from freezing, right? Because that's kind of the first part of it. The second, you freeze the grass blades, that's going to initiate dormancy. And then the second piece of it is that typically the soil surface cools so much, right, that also kind of prolongs that dormancy. It prolongs that period before it can recover, right? So, yes, it kind of does prevent dormancy in a way, depending on what that temperature is. But say you're only keeping it at 42 degrees or at 47 degrees, just keeping it above freezing. But you're allowing the grass blades to still go ahead and freeze. It's still going to go dormant. It's just not going to completely shut down as if your soil temperature actually reached somewhere around 32. Best time of year in East Tennessee to apply humic acid.
Humic Hotline.
We'll double that up. So here's the thing, I have to ask you what is your goal for using humic acid? And the reason why is that there's lots of different ways you could go about using it, and they're all going to influence why, when, how you use each individual products. And you have to understand too, there's going to be a lot of variance between individual products too. Even between solid and liquid, some of those can be very different. So unfortunately here on the Humic Hotline, I need an entirely much larger sample of information to be able to provide you with an accurate answer, because what you're telling me right now is not enough for me to be able to guide you in the right direction. Let's see here. Let me do this. There we go. What's best for onion and creeping Charlie on turf type tall fescue? Yeah, like a 2,4-D ester, triclopyr, fluroxypyr, combination of something like that is going to be doing good. I've used Humazolve since the mid-90s, and it's great. That sounds good. I'm just a homeowner, but I wanted to see how legit the education I've received from watching your live show and pick the doc's brain. I took the practice South Carolina pesticide test and passed. Y'all rock. Very good. Yeah, so you gotta get out there with your Google foo because it's none of that information is going to be free. So you have to do some pretty good digging. What's up, RBO Jackson? How are you doing? What's up, Connor Ward? How are you, good sir? Are you? You know, one of the things I almost added was the drilling information. A little DD, little due diligence. I've always applied fall pre-emergence in liquid form September to October. Bermuda and Sewage have never added fert. The first frost has been late November. Other companies adding liquid NOS urea. Thoughts? So yeah, in September, October, normally what I would add is like a 1/4 pound of urea, and probably try and go ahead and get down something like a pound of potash. Normally, then too was normally what I did when I was in that type of scenario. And that was mainly because I did not have the flexibility to apply my potash during the growing season, so I would try and load. Not exactly best practice, but it was what I had to do to try and get down the adequate NPK numbers that I needed to get down. So, yes, that makes total sense. I understand that. That's a great way to go about that right there. I wouldn't go over the top with the rate of it, but by all means, you certainly can. A grill refund? I got you, Connor. I got you, man. Don't worry. Have decided to take your advice and mix my own Dismiss NXT. Have never mixed herbicides before. What's the best way to figure out ratios, etc.? So there's a little bit of math involved, and in fact, I'm curious. While I've got all this going on, let me see here. What did I call it? Roll your own sheet. Yes. Drive.google.com. Let me bust into here. I know. Yes. Here we go. I'm gonna throw this up on the screen for you here. Let me see if I can make all this fit. Because I've got some of the ratios right here, and I think I can make this. I think I can make this work. And then you can go back and reference it whenever you like. So I put together a rate table specifically for this, just mathing out the individual active ingredients that went in on it. Oh man, what did I do? Can I? Oh. All right, let me do this. NXT rate table. Let me head over here. Don't say I never did anything for you. I put together this spreadsheet, and it's definitely got some good information here. Like this is one of them that I always feel so terrible when I see people actually buying Dismiss NXT. Like, it bothers me. It really does bother me. Because Dismiss NXT is so expensive. And really, it's just a combination of carfentrazone and sulfentrazone. And as a, let's see what the number is here. You can save 44% rolling your own. You can save 44% rolling your own. In fact, I'll go ahead and throw up this chart here as well too. If I can remember how to work my computer, I'm struggling, man. I'll tell you what. One of those things. Let me save this. NXT2. Hang on, it's coming. It's coming. I'm telling you. You get more information from that spreadsheet there, and you're going to see exactly how much you can save. So as you can see here, and this is just taking, you know, over-the-counter prices off the internet here. You're saving about 44%. So if you can save that much money, why buy the name brand Dismiss NXT? It just completely boggles my mind. Absolutely boggles my mind, and I would never do it. So there's the table. Check it out. And that should save you a fair amount of time and money from having to do that. But really, it's just math. And what you're looking for is the weight per gallon, the amount of active ingredient per gallon, and then you can math it out from there. Let's see. Works great on sedges, though. Yeah, it is. It's a good product on sedges, but it's one of those things. So is sulfentrazone. Sulfentrazone is a good product on sedges, too. It's just, do you need it to go in 2 days or do you need it to go in 4 days? Because that's really what your difference there is going to be. And it can be blanket sprayed at lower rates. It's only a few ounces per acre. Yeah. Sewer sludge, microbes like used in Red septic tank treatment or gasp Milorganite. Is Celsius, Katana, Quicksilver tank mix for spot treatment together too much of a hot mix on Bermuda grass? No, not at all. I don't know. Yeah, there's nothing about that seems too hot for me. I think you're going to be all right. I thought activated sewer sludge was the buy my fishing spot here in Philly. I don't know what that means. Get those three-eyed fish in Philly like we do in the Ohio River. Katana is a good one. It's great for sedges, and it's also great for cool season grass removal out of warm season grasses, especially in cool weather. It's fast. It's relatively fast. Now, if it gets too cool, you start to lose efficacy pretty significantly out of Katana. It's not the best, and if it gets real cold, it's just going to stop working altogether, and that's just an unfortunate side effect of it. So if you can get it done before it starts getting too cold outside, then you'll be good, and it'll work out well for you. I love this easy music in the background. I'm just totally digging it. And also, big shout out. We I'm not kidding when I say I have been on the road. I have been on the road pretty much nonstop, and I'll tell you who ends up having to wear the brunt of that. That's totally my wife. Show my wife some support. Head over to the Fan Factory. She's been working her absolute ass off through this, and she's been going through her own things right now. She's dealing with sickness and all kinds of stuff, and she is still just putting in all kinds of work over there. So show her some work. There's a little extra behind the scenes content for everything we have going on here in the Martin household that you don't get to see anywhere else. Let's see here. Where am I? Here we go. I think the fake George Popa is chatting. Do you have a soil test you would recommend for DIYers? I used the Yardmaster test this season, was deficient in everything. Carbonex contained may be accurate, just a little suspicious. I don't know. So, well, yes, there's definitely ones I would recommend. The one I have the most, A-Dog. Thank you, good sir. Unnecessary, man. I appreciate you. Look, hang on. Let me see if I can do this real quick.
Hell yeah!
So what I would do, the easy thing to do is the one I have the most experience with is going to be a Malick 3 test. I don't really know a whole lot about those. In fact, there was a time I was supposed to have him on the Turfs Up radio show, but boy, life started falling apart pretty quick for me there, and I never did get to have that conversation. In fact, I probably need to reach out and understand more about it. But at least in my experience, in my education, that I have, I've only used Malick 3, Malick 1, spray, the traditional ones you see. I've never used I've always kind of shied away from like paste tests and stuff like that. So I would, thank you, John Hoover. I appreciate you, sir. Thank you. What I would do is I would go check out one of the labs, and for Midwest Labs, Spectrum Analytics is another good one. Waters Ag is another one. Waters. There's a lot of them out there, but you just take a look. Get a Malic 3 test or something of the sort. And in fact, if you're with the right lab, what they'll do is they'll be able to test your pH first, and then decide which kind of lab test you need. Because depending on your soil pH and the bicarbonates and the water and the rate of the magnesium, calcium, and all that stuff would change the way they need to test the amount of phosphorus you have in your soil. So it's hard to say. That would just give you a more consistent baseline for the rest of the information that's out in the market right now. See how well preserved I put out that statement without being too controversial? What can I do to enhance winter root growth in Rhizomatous tall fescue? Winters have been mild recently. Do mild winters reduce the grass's focus on root growth? No, not at all. So what is going to affect more of the root growth is going to be just the rate of growth of the plant altogether. So if you're lacking a consistent, even upward growth, that means you're also lacking consistent downward growth. Thank you, Rick with Turf Time. I really appreciate you, sir. The double M. See, that's stuff my family calls me right there, the double M. So, really mild winters would be best for enhancing root growth, because it's hard to manipulate the root system of the plant if you don't have adequate temperatures for the plant to grow, because that's what happens. As you get cooler outside, you lose adequate temperatures to be able to grow. And that also means no matter what you throw at it, you're not going to be able to drive any growth because you don't have enough temperatures for the plant to be able to do its thing. That includes root development. Can you get some small, minor lateral root development? Yes, just like you can get some small, minor upward tip movement on your turf too. All that is possible. All of that is possible. But how much of it is going to be the game changer between you having a successful spring and a not successful spring? Zero. Pray for mild winters. That's going to be your biggest help. Yeah, NXT is not cheap. Not cheap. Man, I know in your pre-emergent video from a couple years back, you recommend splitting apps between pre-emergence, meaning doing half an app of prodiamine and half an app of dithiopyr. I've heard some talk about the practice in recent months as a means of fighting pre-emergent resistance. Any thoughts? No, that is not what I was saying do not do that. Timmy Bluegrass, I was saying do not do that. Because prodiamine and dithiopyr are in the same class. They're both dinitroalanines. They're both DNA pre-emergent herbicides. So rotating between them doesn't do a damn thing for resistance. And rotating between them, even though they are the same mode of action, the differing AIs do not complement one another. Now, science says is that are you really going to see much of a difference between a prodiamine first app half rate and a dithiopyr half rate second app? No, not usually, but I don't like to take that risk. What is more consistent is prodiamine followed by prodiamine, or dithiopyr followed by dithiopyr if you're doing a split half rate application for each application. Rotating between pendimethalin, prodiamine, dithiopyr is not going to help you manage resistance, because all of those are in the same class, same mode of action, and therefore rotating between them is doing nothing for you. Yes, do not rotate those. It's silly. You're increasing the opportunity for accidents. Basically, is what it is. It's not to say it's a guarantee, but you're taking an extra amount of risk that isn't necessary because it's not giving you any competitive advantage. It's not giving you any competitive. What is the word I'm looking for? Environmental advantage or anything of the sort. So there we go. Yeah, I think that's about as good as kind of cover there. Matt, how to kill POA in Bermuda that hasn't checked out yet but isn't growing either. So if it hasn't checked out yet, if your Bermuda hasn't checked out yet, but it isn't really growing, now would be a great time to go with something like Revolver or Monument would be another good one. Let's see, what else could you go with? Katana would be another great one. One of the sulfonylureas that would be my best bet and my recommendation for you. So Monument, Katana, Revolver, all those are going to be great. Let's see here. Very interesting to me. Hal brought in hay soil test a few months ago, and then again just 2 months later, surprised how different the results were. pH 6.8 to pH 6.2 in that 2 months. Also, phos was high. Dropped a lot. Yeah, it's kind of one of those things. I'm in New Jersey, if that matters. And it could be, you may have that much variance in your own there may be that much variance in between where you took one soil test and where you took the other soil test. That is a real possibility, moving from a 6.8 to a 6.2. But if you're taking it from all about the same areas and that stuff, or you got a small yard and you're taking it, you're seeing that much wide variety, it's very real. The soil test could have been off. It happens. It happens more than any lab would be willing to admit. And I can tell you from, I have done some soil testing on the reporting end of things, and guarantee you I was in no way, shape, form, or fashion in any sort of a condition to be doing that. So just understand it happens. There are people behind it, and sometimes people make mistakes. We were still getting some slight growth here in New Jersey. About 3 weeks ago, I put down 28012 to winterize. Has been in the 70s here at time, but also put down AMP after test results. The only green up for a very short period of time. Boy, I'm trying to follow all this here, Izzy. We're still getting some slight growth here in New Jersey. About 3 weeks ago, put down 28012 to winterize. Has been in the 70s here at time. Also put down AMP after test result. The only green up for a short period of time. I don't know. It's back to light green. I know growth is very slow here this time of year. My neighbor that aerated about 6 weeks later than me is much greener. Can that be it? It could be. It totally could be. I don't know fully how to answer that question. It could be the cultivar of fescue that you have growing or grass that you have growing there. It may not just be as green. Like for instance, this is one of those things where I've seen people put down a lot of annual ryegrass before and wonder why it has not turned green. It turns green initially, and then it yellows out pretty quickly. Well, that's just because of the genetics of annual ryegrass. It could be what is the other one? A coarse fescue instead of a tall fescue, a turf-like tall fescue. A lot of times those don't have the same rate of colors. The other thing could be a deficiency of some sort, and it's hard for me to say without looking at your soil test directly to be able to say, which one is going to work with which. As far as how do you know which test would be more accurate, it's hard to say. I would go with the one where the majority of turfgrass management literature currently resides, and that's using things like a Malic test or a Malic 3 soil test or a weak brace, something like that. Kenny Cooper, what are you doing, sir? So that's where I would steer you with it, but it's going to be hard to say which is which. So yes, I would go to something like Spectrum Analytics, whatever, and I would just feel more comfortable. I'd be less. I would feel like there's less potential for some squirreliness going on at a lab like that. That makes sense. Michael Lane, are you going to be doing any Fert and Squirt videos? I don't know. I hope so. I sure hope so. I'll definitely be doing some stuff. I've still got a whiteboard video that's almost fully edited that I need to upload. And boy, that one's on detaching. And oh man, I tell you what, that is going to be very controversial. Very controversial. Whew. Asking for a friend in Florida, St. Augustine grass. What other pre-emergent can be used in rotation besides prodiamine or dithiopyr? So just not a concern. So you could also use spectacle in that type of scenario too. You could use atrazine in that scenario, simazine in that scenario. What is the one that it's common that came out of Louisiana? That's the 3-fur. That is a combination of simazine, image, and prodiamine. Oh my goodness, I can't remember the name of it. Oh, let me do a little Google foo here. Simazine, imazaquin, and prodiamine. Coastal, COASTAL, coastal would be another one that you could use as well too. If dithiopyr and prodiamine have the same mode of action, can you apply the other after hitting max yearly rate on one? Technically, yes. But should you be reaching max yearly rate in a single season? No. Chances are, if you're applying at rates that high and you're not getting the level of control that you want, either that pre-emergent doesn't control that weed or that weed is resistant to that active ingredient. Very, very, I mean, under no circumstances have I ever applied at a max yearly rate, having to switch to the next one to finish out my season or whatever. I've never had to do that. I've been doing it for a long time. Paul Smith, I do not know why that happened. I did not touch it, to be honest, so I have no idea. Matt, been real mowing my turf gem tall fescue at 1.75 inches because the Turf Merchant's website says it can be maintained as low as 1.5 inches. Has anyone ever had success with 1.5 inch turf type tall fescue? Squirrely. It is squirrely, that, without a doubt. But yes, there are lots of golf courses that do dwarf and double dwarf tall fescue that is going to be at 1.5 inches. It is not that uncommon. In a home lawn scenario, it is uncommon because it's going to increase your level of difficulty of maintenance, but that's not to say it can't be done. It totally can be done. It's done all over the globe at that height. So it just, your level of care is going to increase. Your budget is going to increase because your degree of difficulty, your degree of pressure, abiotic pressures, disease pressures, all of that are going to increase with it. What would you use to smoke St. Augustine for a Bermuda Reno? Glide with a kicker. Thought about Pilex or Filazofop in the tank mix. To smoke St. Augustine, real simple. If you're going to do glide, I would do a kicker of quinclorac. Quinclorac and glyphosate would absolutely roast St. Sorry, COVID. I would do glide with quinclorac. That would probably be my best way to go after that. Hoover FO. What? I don't understand what's going on. Oh, Jay Hoover? John Hoover? What? I'm confused. I'm really confused. Most of my lawn is fescue, a little rye, and some other cool season mix. So, yeah, I mean, if you got some fescue and some rye in it, I mean, there could be lots of different things that are going on there. That could be a little weird. Trigger warning, upcoming video. Yes, there's going to be a major trigger warning on that video. Boy,
Scam alert.
people are going to get real mad on that one. I'll tell you that right now. It's still going. My goodness. Stop it. Okay, there it is. Thoughts on anti-transparent for low-cut Kentucky bluegrass for winter. You can. Is it necessary? Maybe if... no. Probably not. If you're in an area in the Midwest where you just get blasted with 30, 40 mile an hour winds or something like that, maybe. But I'd be more concerned about trees and shrubs than I would be the turf. But no, I think it's just silly. I would not be doing that at all. Tall fescue slowing down. Regular turf time. Thank you, sir. Slowing down in Middle Tennessee and still green. Can see some poetriff in the lawn. Time to tackle it now or wait. Man, if it were me, I would go ahead and tackle it now. That's just in my opinion, but really there's no right or wrong answer here. So I would just run with it. So should I ask Santa not to bring me that Sunjoe dethatcher I asked for? Well, maybe. It depends. Because there's certain instances where dethatching is going to be a very positive thing. And there's other things where people are doing it just because it makes them feel good. St. Augustine won't smoke in Billy Bong Thornton or Wesley pipes. Real mode turf, cool season is not allowed. Can't cut it that short.
Scam alert.
Connor!
Scam alert. Scam alert. Scam alert.
Connor knows firsthand shortcut cool season grass is a scam. That's a joke. That's a joke, of course. That's a total joke. Josiah Thornton, I do not know. All I know is that, it depends. Some dates to look out for are going to be the week before Christmas. So that would be the week of the 16th through the 20th is going to be a big one. And then also, wait. I'm looking at the wrong month. December 14th through the 18th is going to be a big one. And then January 4th through the 8th is going to be a big one as well. And that's really the only information I can give you right now. Let's see. Where am I? We need Ryan Knorr rules here too. Where is Ryan Knorr? What's he doing right now? Connor's grass is actually 8 inches tall. He uses camera tricks. Wait, I thought the Photoshop gate was Ryan Knorr. Ryan Knorr was Photoshop gate, right? Just another quick question. Can it be that maybe the phosphorus was being used all of a sudden during the fall season much more, even though I applied a starter fertilizer in September, phos levels drop? No, because your nitrogen rate is going to dictate your phosphorus uptake. So if you applied like 2.5 pounds of nitrogen all at one time, maybe then you could cause some rather large movement on your phosphorus. But remember, large movement is all going to be relative. Like a season's worth of phosphorus would be like 15 parts per million. So did it move 15 parts per million or did it move 50 parts per million? Because that's kind of the answer I'm looking for there. Because if it moves 15, well, did you apply 4 pounds of nitrogen all at one time just because you had a little, squirreliness? And if that happened, then, maybe I could say, well, yeah, if it moved 15 parts per million or something like that, that seems normal. But if you didn't, then, could be another issue. Now, here's the other thing, too. Depending on the soil test type, they may not be testing total phosphorus. They may only be testing soluble phosphorus. And here's the thing is that when you apply phosphorus to the soil, eventually it becomes bound up. And as it becomes bound up, it's no longer going to register on a soluble phosphorus test, right? So that can be a reason why it would change also too. Is that if they're only testing for soluble phosphorus and it's tied up with calcium or tied up with magnesium or tied up with iron, that test is going to have no idea that you have phosphorus there. In the first test, it may still have been soluble, and that's why it showed high. And then the second test, it reacted with calcium, formed calcium phosphate, or reacted with magnesium, formed magnesium phosphate, or ferric phosphate, and therefore it's no longer soluble. Therefore, the test can't detect it. Therefore, it doesn't know it's actually there, even though it is there. Any suggestions for soil prep on a new construction home prior to the sod being laid? Man, adding organic matter. What are you doing, John Pinkerton? Gotta feed the squirrel. Gotta feed the squirrel. Kenny, no lie. The cupcake emoji that you posted was flagged for review. I let it through, even though I know it was a little risky. I went ahead and let it through. My biggest fear is that evil people are going to stop us from loving our turf grass. Anything that brings pleasure like turf must surely be illegal. Trust me, I get it, Truth Hunter. I feel you. It keeps me awake at night. Squirrely counts popping at night. There's no doubt about it. I'm sorry, Jonathan Brothers. I missed your question there. I got distracted. As far as soil prep on a new construction home is pull a soil test and just go ahead and make the amendments you need to make, right? That's the easiest way to get it done. And then you'll notice you'll end up saving a lot of money in the long term on it if you go ahead and just make that investment on the front end. And things specifically to work out for it, like a lot of it, if it's fertilizer related, you can go ahead and make those applications as you go along on it. But going ahead and correcting soil pH right off the get-go is just going to pay dividends for you in the long run and save you a lot of headache. The other thing you can do too, if you're concerned about, how well the root's going to be able to establish and all this, is add a little organic matter. Something like that would always be a good start, but not even necessarily required. So anyway, that's what I would do. It mainly is just work on the soil pH before really messing with anything else. The soil test at Site 1 doesn't do parts per million. Oh, golly. They've cheapened it down where they're not even providing you parts per million anymore. That is ridiculous. That drives me crazy. I need to, I don't know. I'm going to do a little deep dive here. I'm going to get a hold of, Raise a Green Dock. What is this? Tiffany's got me. Escape Halloween virtual rave-a-thon. That's what I'm talking about. I'm going to have to check that out. Yeah, Midwest Labs is a good one. I think they have a location in Memphis too, so kind of centrally located. But they've got locations kind of all over the place too. So they're a good one to work with. I was inspired by Connor's dahlia flower content. We'll be planning some. Man, I tell you what, Connor, you have done more for dahlias than any other human being that has ever lived, and it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. I bet all these people in Home Depots and Lowe's and garden and nursery centers around the nation right now are like, what in the world is going on? I haven't sold a dahlia in 4 years. And all of a sudden, over the last 2 seasons, I've sold 400,000 dahlias. I've sold more dahlias in the last season than I have in the last 40 years of selling dahlias. You should be proud of yourself. You did great. All right, everybody. If you'd like to support the stream, feel free to head over to thegrassfactor.net, pick up one of the pieces of merch. Also, go show some love over to my wife, busting her ass over at the Fan Factor. What is this? I gotta learn how to computer. I hope everybody has a fantastic evening. No, George Popa, you're the man. You're the man. You're not even the old man. You're not. You're not. like I said, I'll get a hold of Ray and see when we can get on here and do a Pick the Dog Spring, because that'll be a good one. In fact, that may actually coincide well, because I'll be doing the video that's going to be coming out on on liquid dethatching, and so that'll kind of line up with that. I can at least have Ray on to co-sign or discredit my bullshit, right? Have a neutral arbitrator come in and tell me one way or another whether or not I'm lying or not. That way everybody knows up front. In the meantime, y'all have a fantastic evening. Don't do anything I wouldn't do. And we'll catch you on the flip side.